Listen. Now, when it comes to Netflix's Stranger Things, I am fully aware that I'm a certified hater. Like, I vented about the product placement in the show and how the writing keeps getting in the way of it. Like, I don't care to hear about these two's gripping dialogue.
It doesn't change anything. It doesn't matter. I care for you so much.
Nah, I want to know where this girl got that coke clock. Pushing merch has become so central to the show that it ended up coming back to bite him in the upside down. But look, I'm surprised to say that I think this new season might be their best one yet. Let me explain.
Be honest, do you guys understand any of this?
No.
Pretty straightforward.
Now, it's been 185 days since season 3, which was just Netflix pushing more Coke products than Pusha T. And while I don't think that they fixed all of their flaws, in my opinion, it really is an upgrade. I think this has the best storyline out of the 4. They have some of their best shots here. They're the first show that got an exclusive intro bump that made it more immersive. And a lot of the characters, honestly, are just going through the same things they were going through in season 1 or when we met them. But it's finally written way better.
Looks like it's gonna be up to us again.
It always is, isn't it?
So I'll be splitting season 4 between the 4 storylines, so if you haven't seen it, you've been warned with full spoilers.
Listen.
Now, after the events from the last season, the Byers family finally decided to dip on Hawkins and ended up in California alongside 11. Jonathan's come full circle, and he's out there chopping wood on his own since he's away from Nancy. Will's so big, he can damn near take out the Demogorgon himself, and 11 is still 11.
I am the standout, you just my stand-in.
She still gets her egos delivered to her room, but is now getting the treatment in school that Millie usually gets online. And because Mike misses Elle so much that he can't feel a thing, he legit hops on a flight to go see her. And it's kind of crazy to think that back in the day, you could literally wait right outside the gate and enjoy some cool, crisp, refreshing Coke. Again, I've never really cared for their middle school romance, but it does kind of suck that the bromance that started it all has kind of fallen apart because poor Will is always being thrown to the side. Like, he's a full-grown man now, but gets less respect than Rodney. Boy's damn near sharing wardrobes with Harbour. He speaks, and the bass in his voice wakes up the neighbors.
You've called maybe a couple times. It's been a year, Mike.
The hell it has. This boy wasn't just tormented for 3 seasons. Like, they also had him move from his hometown, and now he's out here third-wheeling as they celebrate Elle on his birthday.
We'll be back at 6. Have fun, okay?
Okay.
Man, when it comes to this show, you know that when there's a Will, you bet there's a way they're gonna belittle him. Elle gets bullied at the skating rink by the most 80s looking girl. It's pretty rough, but after crying in the Netflix storage room for a bit, she comes out and just straight up assaults her bully and gets arrested. She gets the mugshots for her mixtape and then gets transferred out yet again to another location where you know things are off because she's surrounded by Pepsi. The army is convinced 11 has something to do with the new attacks on Hawkins, so they recast Sam Owens to bring her in, so now it's back to the lab again. So then the rest of the Callie storyline is really just these dudes going from point A to point B. These two have been fighting the entire time, but Mike and Will made it work right before things go stupid as the military comes in a crazy long take. Charlie then has to go from thinking about skipping college to having to skip Dodge again, while his new buddy Argyle goes through multiple strains as they hit the road.
Dustin's right. You're a certified genius.
I think we just spooked a skunk.
In order to find 11, they visit Dustin's girlfriend Susie in Utah, since she's the best hacker they know. And I swear, it's like they entered another property. Like, it was like Matilda meets Cheaper by the Dozen.
What's the internet?
Don't worry about it. It's just gonna change the world.
But once they get the map quest of where they need to go, that's kind of just it for them.
Just listen.
Now these guys had something going. The remaining crew in Hawkins is now in high school, and because it's Netflix, you know one of them gets bumped from being a nerd to a jock. And that's caused a divide because the new group is joined a D&D club that's run by like super seniors.
We are nerds and freaks.
Yeah, but maybe we don't have to be.
Lucas's relationship with Max has also been benched, but his love for cool, crisp, refreshing Coke still sponsors his game-winning shots. Meanwhile, Mountain Dew fuels the D&D games, which in Stranger Things, you know, is where you have to listen into because it's just all the exposition for the show.
Oh, it was thought, my friend. So it was thought. But Vecna lives!
We also meet 2 new characters this season with Eddie and Chrissy, who meet up for a drug deal, but before she can get handed the devil's lettuce, she gets turned into a Wetzel pretzel. Eddie's innocent, but he dips because he's only used to this in board games, but he doesn't realize that makes him suspect number 1. That's where Nancy comes in to investigate, since she's running the school newspaper, and heads to the trailer park to get a scoop. She talks with Eddie's uncle, who gives her a mini LME on Victor Creel, who had a similar scenario. He's the man who killed his family, Jeepers Creepered their eyes out, and then spread a curse after getting locked up at an asylum. And the curse seems to spread via guilt, which is why Nancy's partner Fred starts feeling funny. Pretty much what happens is that Vecna's curse hits you with 3 visions, and then boom, you're out of the franchise. So that's 0-2 for all the people that Nancy know.
I'm hopeless.
We both are.
Steve went from basking 31 flavors with Robin to working at Family Video, which is where Dustin sets up shop after Max tells him what she saw at the trailer park. And in order to prove Eddie's innocence, they need to find him. And they have this pretty cool scene where it's not just relying on the nostalgia of being at the video store, but how they can hunt down some leads through the members' previous rentals. They end up finding Eddie and learn about Vecna's curse, and then find Nancy, all to just immediately split up.
All right, okay, this is stupid.
So just like season 4, we now have Hawkins Group A and Hawkins Group B. Nancy and Robin go to the archives to learn more about Victor, and then just decide to go visit the man himself.
Victor believed he was spared as a punishment.
Yeah, well, that's pretty convenient for Victor.
Yeah, or super inconvenient.
They forge some credentials to visit Victor at the asylum, and Robin goes for a whole Oscar speech in order to meet with the serial killer. They just allow her to. They see Victor, who's gouged his eyeballs in order to not have nightmares, which is funny because, wouldn't you know, he's played by Freddy Krueger himself.
Like Freddy Krueger's boiler room.
Freddy Krueger?
He recounts his story after getting back from the war and moving his family to a new house, and about all these supernatural encounters that occurred. All that leads to the incident that killed his wife and daughter, caused his son to freeze and be taken away, all while the man was locked up.
This evil, it's like a virus. Each time it returns, it comes back stronger, smarter, deadlier.
Yeah, that's not creepy.
As far as Group B, Dustin and Steve continue to be the best duo. Their banter actually makes them feel like characters, whereas everyone else has like stock dialogue.
What?
Oh, too far.
Not cool. Sorry.
Yeah, cool. It's okay.
Meanwhile, Lucas has a decent storyline where he's dealing with the separation of his friends and how he now has this new group, but I feel like it doesn't really go places because, you know, there's the whole aspect where he took the game-winning shot from the jock, but there's like no animosity there, no tension, so he just ends up phoning it back home to reunite with his buddy. But his sister Erica, though, yeah, she keeps being the one who helps everyone out of everything.
Do you know Dustin Henderson?
Know him? I've bled with him.
There's then Max, who easily has the best storyline. And it's crazy because that peaks like in episode 4. She's coming off her brother being brutally slain after brutally slaying others when the Demogorgon took him over. Brutally. But even through that, she's always the one who gets the job done for the crew. Like, even when she gets hit with the curse and thinks it's her time to go, she still takes the time to write goodbye letters, with Sadie knowing her character all too well that she herself penned the letter she reads at Billy's grave.
Dear Billy, I don't know if you can even hear this.
She's the next on Vecna's list, because the moment you see that clock, your timer starts ticking, and after a couple of red herrings, he comes for her. That's when the group realizes the power of music and how it can be used to stop the curse, which is really clever considering the satanic panic storyline they have going on, and how she was already listening to that song in earlier episodes on her way to therapy. But damn, Dustin really just dumps the backpack only to carry the tapes 100 yards? It does lead to one of the best Stranger Things scenes probably ever, in my opinion, as Max escapes Hawkins' Davy Jones and makes a clean landing with what I'm assuming are the strongest calves in the game. Sadie solidifies herself as the best actress on the show, Kate Bush hits the charts, and the Duffers get to raise their sponsor rate yet again.
Try us.
The Hawkins crew pulls up to Victor's house where Robin's got a spare key, and they investigate. Meanwhile, Vecna helps the Duffers with the 80s stereotypes and goes after one of the basketball players who are all looking for Eddie.
Well, shit, I've read the wrong person plays this game. It can warp their mind. I mean, it's been happening all over the country. It's like an epidemic.
Yeah, I read about that shit. It's real.
Chrissy's boyfriend Jason is the main school jock who's gathered up the team to avenge his girl, and he really plays off the satanic panic because he just blames the Hellfire Club and gets the entire town to, agree with him, even though he does contradict himself.
I don't believe in that supernatural crap, all right? How do you expect to stop the devil if you don't believe he's real?
Jason spends the whole season giving speeches, making plans, and doing a funny little strut as he walks away. He gets Hawkins to go from a pep rally to rallying up the troops as the entire town decides to go after the Hellfire Club off of one monologue. And that's only because they have to take it into their own hands because the cops here continue to be incompetent. Like, I swear the audience who watches this show has done more than them. They just have like a front row view.
Oh, little pigs. Oh, little pigs.
The main group is now out in the woods, not realizing that this is way too big of a group for a horror series, but they just rely on the fact that it's also a sci-fi series, and they're able to call back to a previous trick Dustin used to find the Upside Down and keep things going.
An electromagnetic field. Yep.
I'm sorry, I must have skipped that class.
Nah, you just missed that season.
Are you both seriously this dense? The sun rises in the east, and it sets in the west, right?
They find the right way and split up again, this time into the older younger group and the younger youngins crew. They go out into the lake and Steve offers to go into the water to make up for all of the other dips he's had this season. And that's when Nancy has flashbacks to his flapjack. Even all the way out there, Max is ready to run up that hill and risk it all. They end up going way deep and get tentacled back into the place that started it all, because when it comes to a season 4, they always have the crew going back. The younger group did pay attention to season 1 though, and they're able to pull a reverse Joyce in order to contact the older ones down below. And they get most of them out, except Nancy, who's stuck in a trance. But all I know is, this cliffhanger better not end with Steve dying.
You don't listen.
Next is the Russia storyline that I know a lot of people do love. I just don't really get it. Like, I like the idea of seeing Joyce happy, more than I guess care about their relationship, if that makes any sense. Joyce begins the season with some mail, and since it comes from Russia, she begins to worry.
I always worry.
She calls on Murray for help, who shows her how to undress the nesting doll and realizes that Hopper's alive. 'Cause Hellboy did that bad, I guess.
You saw him die, Joyce.
I didn't see a body.
Because he evaporated.
So it turns out when you thought he died, he didn't. He's been taken in by the Russians and is being ready to be fed to their local Demogorgon that they have, but it's the guard Dmitri that's trying to score a deal by sneaking him out for a 40K ransom. So while Vecna's cracking bones back home, Hopper's cracking his ankle in order to plan his escape, and then no lie, just stops the movie to straight up audition for James Bond when he escapes from the Russians via snowmobile with love, all while they're firing rounds right at him.
You just made all that up.
What is he, a Marvel superhero? These two then take the long flight over to Alaska to rescue him, and luckily they're serving cool, crisp, refreshing classic Coke on that plane. They then meet with Yuri, the Soviet who's never Russian, but the one who does love counting his checks to the point that the smuggler drugs and turns on them.
I love the smell of gas in the morning.
Because this whole season is about guilt and how each character is susceptible to this curse, they then get Hopper to join in as he gives his little Emmy snippet.
But that wasn't true. That's a lie. They didn't need me. I needed them.
Meanwhile, Joyce and Murray just hijack a plane and arrive just in time for the main event, where they do a really dope homage to a Godzilla-like shot of the Demogorgon. But of course, Hopper still thinks he works for the BPRD and is able to beat the Demogorgon with fire as sparks fly and he rejoices.
Listen.
Finally, we have the best one. Remember Dr. Martin, who supposedly died? Well, this is Stranger Things, and because they still have a storyline exploiting kids, he's got to come back. This whole arc is done in flashbacks as Dr. Martin redunks Eleven into that tub in order for her to recall things that happened in Season 0. It's crazy to think that they have to de-age Millie Bobby Brown for the prequel story, but yeah, it makes sense. It's just funny that they made her look like Ashtray.
What have you done?
Martin coaches her through her memories about an incident that she's blocked out of her mind that took place in 1979. According to the camera, she wouldn't be able to see. And even in the special school, Eleven continues to get bullied. She's also connected with a friendly orderly, as IMDb calls them, which I actually really appreciated because it doesn't ruin the surprise when you look it up, you know? I remember watching The Bad Guys and checking something out, and it spoiled the movie for me, so I'm all for this type of credit.
Are you open for something a little more challenging?
Martin starts putting these kids through a Mr. Beast challenge to stay inside the circle, and of course, 6-year-old Eleven ends up winning, causing them all to hate her even more, and that's when she starts to realize that she may have executed Order 66 and took them all out. And considering previous seasons, it makes her believe that she's been the constant to all this bad stuff, which I thought was a pretty profound thing to put on her. Like, it's gotten to the point that she's even blocked out older atrocities and thinks she's to blame for it all, really hyping on that theme of guilt that this season has been putting forward.
I am different. I do not belong.
It's also a reason why this one had the warning in episode 1, which I don't think is a bad thing, all things considering. It was something that others should have taken note. But we end up getting the big reveal that the friendly orderly is really 001, who's really Henry Creel, who's really Vecna. Turns out he didn't feel the love from his family, who wanted to ship him away, and he also didn't want to conform to societal constraints, so his way of showing them a mirror was to traumatize people and eventually killing them. Now, I don't know why he waited 4 seasons to show up again, but I guess he delivered. After the incident with his family, he was sent to Dr. Martin, who used him as the inception to his child control program, but after duping Eleven to set him free, he starts taking them all out in order to put the blame on her. They duke it out, which is crazy considering what their actual height difference would have been at that time, and her life of 9 years flashes before her eyes until she hits him back, superhero pose and all, and we get the major reveal that 11 made him who he is. So the guy who played young Grindelwald is now Lord Vecna, who looks like he who shall not be named. But that still leaves us with a lot of questions, like if his whole body and skin were charred and changed, why did his numbers still remain? What are the operators still doing out there? Will the spider jars come into play? And how can you kill someone who's already been crushed like a cool, crisp, refreshing Coke can by 11? But I guess we'll find out soon. Thank you all for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Look, I am really surprised that I enjoyed this one because this is also the season where the episodes were like all feature-length movies, which is insane. I guess the next are going to be like 2 hours long, but I mean, obviously they do that because at that point you're able to like just automatically break this record right here because it is the most running time. But surprisingly, they were the easiest to rewatch. So that's the biggest compliment I could give this show, because if you've been following along, haven't been the biggest fan of 1, 2, and 3, and I rewatched those leading up to this one in order to get like a really big timeline video when we get closer to 5. But it's gonna be really interesting because they have hinted at some things.
The Upside Down has probably been around for thousands of years. Millions. I wouldn't be surprised if it predated the dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
We are all time travelers if you think about it.
I know.
It's a theory.
But considering that they do that whole idea that in the Upside Down, it's a snapshot of a specific time, you know, that when Will went missing, it's all been frozen there. I don't know. I see them dealing with wormholes or something else. But I'm curious to know your theories, your favorite parts of this season, your favorite characters, all that down below in the comment section. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll send you some purple palm tree delight.